Hello everybody, I'm Corinne Blackstone and welcome to my craft room. I'm so happy to have you here today. In today's tutorial, I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know about working with print and cut. This is perfect if you are new to the Cricut or if you just need a refresher because there have been some changes to Cricut Design Space since I made my last video. We're going to talk all about things like bleed, how to make sure that all of the areas of your sticker are not cutting out, how to make sure that your sticker is going to come out perfect and beautiful, plus printer settings. Now, I am going to be using Cricut sticker paper, which, if I'm being honest, is not my most favorite sticker paper, but it's not terrible. And we're going to be making a bunch of little capybara stickers, and they're so stinking cute. I made so many of them. I'm so excited to show you how to do this. Now, you do not have to use the same design that I made, but I'm going to link them below in case you're interested in making your own little capybara stickers as well. You can really use any design that you want, and we'll talk about that in the video. So without further ado, let's get started, but be sure that you're subscribed here on YouTube. That way you don't miss out on any of the fun, crafty content we have coming. The first thing that you need when you're working with print and cut is the images that you're going to use. Now, you can use any type of image that you want to, but PNGs are going to be the easiest when you're first starting out. Now, I'll link some more of my print and cut tutorials down below if you want to get a little more advanced. But for this, we're just going to kind of talk the basics and how to make sure that you're getting the best stickers or printable product that you want. So again, you want to look for a good quality image, and these are PNG images. And one thing that you want to look for is right here, you'll see somewhere in the listing usually where it'll tell you the high resolution and its DPI. 300 DPI is about what you want to look for. They're really usually going to be the best quality. So I'm going to use these adorable capybara Valentine's Day designs, and all I need to do is click download. Now, for the most part, all websites are going to be very much the same when it comes to doing these types of situations. They're going to all kind of download the same. Now, I'm going to save these into a new folder. So what I'm going to do is right click, and I want to go to new and choose new folder. And I'm going to make a Valentine's Day design folder. That way I can kind of keep myself pretty organized with my files. I want to open up my Valentine folder, and then you can leave it called this, but I'm going to change it to Capybara Valentine, if I could spell Valentine stickers, and that way I know what it is, and I'm going to click save. Now again, that's an extra step. You don't have to change them. But what you want to do is you're going to open up that folder that you just downloaded, and you need to choose the extract all option, and you're going to click extract. But I do recommend having show extracted files when complete selected, because then it'll open up the folder where your extracted files are so that you can easily access them for your Cricut Design Space. Now, I will typically go back into the folder, and I'm going to delete the zipped folder. There's no reason for you to keep it. It just takes up space on your computer. I want to use this folder here, which is our extracted folder. You're going to open up your Capybara Valentine folder, and you'll see that you have a couple of different options. You have Adobe Illustrator, PNG, and SVG files. For this, we're going to be using the PNG files. And you'll see that I have a bunch of different designs that I can choose from. So we're going to use a couple of the different designs so that I can go over a few things that are going to make sure that your stickers come out really well, they cut really well, and you're not going to get frustrated when you're creating. So let's head over to Cricut Design Space. Here on Cricut Design Space, when you open it up, you're going to come to this main page. What you want to do when you're creating stickers is go to New Project, and you only ever want to choose blank canvas. You never want to use vinyl decal, iron-on t-shirt, or gift tag. Always, always blank canvas. There's something going on where it doesn't work if you choose anything else. So make sure you choose that. Close that image folder like I just did. And what we're going to do is click upload, which is at the left-hand side over here. You're going to choose upload image. And here you can either drag and drop or browse for your file. Now, that's why I tell you to keep that folder open, because it's much easier to know exactly which image you want, and it's a lot quicker. I'm going to choose to drag and drop, and I'm just going to choose a couple of these that I think are really cute and have some different styles to them, because I want to show you a few little pitfalls to working with stickers. So you'll notice here that you have your image. All you have to do is click continue. And when you come to this screen, you're going to just see, again, your image. You do not need to do anything to this design right here because this has the background removed. Everything looks good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and click apply and continue. Now on this screen, you're going to see three options. You're going to have multiple layers, single layer, and flat graphic. When you're working with Cricut Print and Cut, you always want to choose flat graphic. This creates the single layer full color image, and you see right here, it tells you that it's for print and cut projects with the home printer. Go ahead and click continue. And this is where you can kind of change the name of your image. So I can call this Cappy with Love Heart. And then you can add keywords to this. So if you ever want to find it again, you can add them. So you can do capybara, Valentine, sticker, Cappy, whatever you want to add there. And you can add this into any collections that you might have. So I can add this to my sticker collection. Now, all of that is optional. You absolutely don't have to do that. I usually don't, but I do like to show you that. Then simply click upload in that lower right corner. Now it's going to upload this to your Design Space super duper big, and we'll come back to that in a minute because I want to upload a couple extra images so that we can talk a little bit more about different designs and how to work with them. I want to grab a couple that might have some thinner lines, might have some transparent areas. So let me go ahead and upload some of these images, and then I'll show you how we can make sure that these are going to come out beautifully every single time. I've uploaded 4 designs into Design Space that we're going to work with. And you can see they are absolutely gigantic, which is definitely not ideal. So what we're going to do is I'm going to first select all, and then I'm just going to size them down using this drag bar over here. You just grab this little circle in the corner and you can size them down. Now you may need to keep sizing them down a little bit more, but we're just going to kind of play with them right now and show you some things, and we'll resize them for our sticker sheet in a few minutes. So let me pull them apart so that we can see all of our different designs. Now I have 4 different designs that are going to kind of represent a couple of different things that you may run into when you're working with making stickers. And a lot of people will run into these problems, so don't feel like it's just you. These are questions that I answer all the time that I feel like people just need to know when they're making stickers. So let's start with our very first thing that I always want you to know. One thing that Cricut Design Space will do is anywhere that it can see the background, so it is a transparent space, it's going to cut around. Now, staring at them like this, it makes it really difficult for you to tell maybe exactly where it's going to cut around your design. So what you'll do to check this is go down under this background color and click on that little square. Change the color to anything that you want that's going to help you see the background. So blues or reds or whatever it may be, whatever color is going to help you see where it's changed to that color. So let's first talk about these little bumblebees. When this cuts out your sticker, it is going to cut out everything that is like the color, and you can see where the purple background is, meaning it's going to try to cut this really thin line here. And that's maybe not ideal for most stickers. We'll come to that in just a second and how to fix that. This here, you'll see all of these little edge pieces like the stars, the hearts, the little like embellishments. It will cut out each of those individually, which really isn't the look that we're going for with the sticker. We want everything to stay together and to stay in place. You'll notice that with this one, we don't have any areas that you can see the purple through. You can see pink, you can see the brown, the red, all that, but you don't see any purple through it. And same with this one. So those stickers could be cut just as they are, as is, without any issues. We'll come back to those in a few minutes because I'll show you how I personally like to create my stickers, just because I like the look a little bit better. But let's go ahead and we're going to go and start with this little bumblebee situation. So again, I'm going to make this bigger so you can really see. You'll see, again, it's going to cut this line, which, like I said, not going to be ideal for using as a sticker. It's probably going to rip. It's just not going to hold up. So what you can do is add an offset. Offset's at the top of your screen, and this is included for anyone who uses Cricut Design Space. This is a great little function, and it is super helpful when you're creating stickers. Now, you can make your offset smaller or larger. With this one, I would recommend a bit of a bigger offset because you don't want these really thin lines, and we are going to fill the circle or like the heart in, but I want to thicken this up a little bit just so that that line is not so thin. Now, keeping in mind that the sticker is currently 9.7 inches, which is way bigger than what we're actually going to be cutting this at. So I would recommend a little bit thicker of an offset. And with this one, I kind of want to try to make sure that these areas right here are going to fill in. So you can see that I've still got a gap right here, and I don't want that. So I'm gonna make this just a little bit bigger. And now that I've got this where you can see there's no blue area here, that means that that's gonna be a solid piece, and this will make a little more sense when you see. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click apply, and it's gonna give you this gray offset. But you'll notice that we still have spots where we can see the purple through it that I don't necessarily want, because I don't want it to look like that when the sticker comes out. So what I want to do is I'm going to go down to contour. Now what contour does is it's going to fill in any of these transparent areas that we don't necessarily want. So you can either click on the areas just like this, or you can simply use this hide all contour button, and that's going to fill in all the pieces and parts. Now, for me personally, I do like a white offset, but you can make your offset any color that you want to. But what else is cool is if you go under print type, you can use a pattern, and you can upload your own patterns, and I'll link a video down below that shows you how to upload your own patterns. But you can see here, I can like make different patterns. I can fill these in kind of however I want. You can really do whatever type of design you want to on these, but you can also just make it white, which is kind of what I prefer. So again, play with it, figure out what you like, and you can just have fun with this. So once I have the offset and the sticker design, you want to make sure that you're going to select both pieces. Now you can do that over here in your layers panel. Hold shift on your keyboard and select both of them, or you can just simply take a box and kind of cover a little bit of both layers. But this is the most important step that people miss all the time and never understand why Design Space does what it does. You need to use what's called the flatten option. Now, this option is going to take those selected layers and turn them into one layer, which basically tells Cricut Design Space that you only wanted to cut around the outside of the image, so the entire outside. It's not going to cut out any of these other small pieces. So now I can just go ahead and size the sticker down to whatever size I want to make it. You can really make your stickers any size. So let's talk about this little gal in her box. We're going to have a similar issue where she's got these things on the side, and we want to make sure all of that is connected. So let's go ahead and use the offset. Now, my offset's going to be set to whatever size I used previously, but I can reduce or expand that size if I want to. I think that's a pretty good size. You'll see that we have some small holes, but don't worry, we'll fill those in with contour. So again, you just simply click apply, go to contour, and then just tell it to hide all contours. Now we do have a little gap over here, but I'm okay with that. That gap is not a big deal. Again, you can change this to any color that you want, but I do prefer to use white. And then I'm going to go ahead and select it, and I'm going to use the flatten option. Again, that tells Design Space this is all one piece. Now, I will say, and I want to show you this, so I'm going to change this background color back to white, because do you notice that it looks like your offset disappeared? Don't worry, it doesn't. But I want to show you that with this rainbow. So if I go to offset, you can obviously clearly see it here, and I'm going to use a much smaller offset on this one just because I want to get you guys a little idea of a couple ways that you can make these stickers. And I'm going to click apply. Now what you'll see is that gray offset. Now again, I want to make it a white offset. Now you'll notice that it looks like it doesn't exist. That's because when it shows print and cut options, it takes away that black outline. So if I change this over to a basic cut, I now have the outline, and that outline just shows you where it's going to cut around with basic cut. Now, if I take it while it's still set as basic cut and the rainbow is set to print the cut, and I flatten it, it will change both parties, both of those layers, over to the print and cut option. Flatten is only used for print and cut, so that's why that works. But that's why when using print and cut, I just do prefer to have a little bit of a background color just to help me see what my stickers are going to look like. Now with this little guy, let's go ahead and do no offset for him. He doesn't have any floating pieces. He should be okay, and it's going to allow me to show you a little bit better what bleed does. Now there is another tool that I love to have when I'm working with print and cut, and it is a print and cut template. I have a free one on my website. I'll link it in the video's description below, but if you don't see it, just let me know in the comments and I'll send you the link. I'm going to load that over here into my Cricut Design Space. I've uploaded this design, and now yours is going to have different measurements than mine because mine's got old measurements, but don't worry about it. It's totally okay. You'll see here that it's a 7.44. Change yours to 7.43 wide. Now I do have templates for all the different sizes that Cricut Design Space offers. I just prefer to use 8.5 by 11 because that's the size sticker paper that I have. Now with this image, what you're going to do is you're going to right click on it and send this to the back because you want it behind all of your stickers. That way you can see it. Now I do want to point out something else here. You'll see that there's this yellow like warning sign. If you click on that, it'll tell you that this image will print poorly. For best results, make it smaller or use a new image with a higher resolution. These are high resolution images, so I don't know why it does that. I have yet to have an issue printing any of these images. This is always going to give you the low resolution, so you can ignore it for the letter size print and cut layer that you have. Don't worry about that. But what you're going to do is you're going to line your stickers up to your page. So this is like a template for where you're going to print. But when you're doing this, one thing I want to point out, and these guys are a great example. Do you see this green box around them? That is called a bounding box. And that bounding box cannot go outside of your template. So while it appears that I could potentially put them right here to print them, this bounding box is outside of that blue printable area. And Cricut Design Space won't allow that. It does not understand that that bounding box has no printable items in that space. So it won't allow it to do that. It's silly and ridiculous and I hate it. So sometimes especially with like stickers like this where they're angled, I will just re-angle them and put them somewhere else, or you can just leave them how they are, whatever works best for you. A lot of times with these, I'll stick these more towards the center. So that's just something to think about when you're doing this. You want to make sure that those bounding boxes remain within your printable area. Now, again, I'm going to size these down. I don't usually make my stickers a whole lot bigger than maybe like 2 or so inches, just because I don't think they need to be that big, but you do whatever you do. I'm going to leave him bigger so that you can see his bleed a little bit more, but I also want to show you how I really fill up my screen with printable area. Now, you'll notice that I have a bounding box, right? And remember I said that the Cricut doesn't know that there isn't anything printable in that area, but what's nice about that is while we know there isn't, Cricut doesn't, it doesn't affect it when I put it like something like this. So if I wanted these bees to be right here, you can see that that bounding box goes over into the capybara in the boxes area. Don't worry about that because it won't give you an error. You can really kind of do whatever you want to and however you need to with these in order to fit them, as long as that bounding box stays within the teal area. Now I'm going to go ahead and just kind of fill this in. And what's cool is you can take and like flip these and shove them into like corners. So, you know, you can really fit these a lot tighter than it's showing. Now, again, I'm going to leave him really big. So I'm going to put him down here at the bottom. Now, another thing you need to know is, do you see this extra area right here? The Cricut sometimes, and I say sometimes because it's sort of hit or miss, may not allow you to place something into this area. So if I take this right now, let me hide the background and I select all of my items and I attach them. The Cricut may give me a warning sign right here that says that my design is too big. That's okay. It's because he is outside of that printable area. Let me detach these and I'll show this back up. And if I move him up out of that printable section, that little edge, and then I select them, I'm going to go ahead and hide this again and select them again, and I attach them. You'll notice now I don't have that warning. It's because he was outside of that little area, and we need to make sure that they stay inside that area. Now, I'm going to leave him nice and big so that you guys can see his bleed, but I'll go ahead and duplicate a few more of these images so that you can see, we can really fill in. And that's why I love using the template here, because you can see I can really kind of shove some stuff in. That guy's too far over, but we're going to kind of just get everybody really pushed in here, fill in a lot of space, take up a lot of area. If you need to make something smaller and you don't mind doing so, go ahead, make a few smaller stickers, make a few bigger stickers, whatever you need to do to fill that area in. So you can see here, like if I turn this, I can probably fit these guys in, maybe, but see this bounding box, he's going to be just on that outside edge. So they might not fit. That's okay. We'll just kind of shove them somewhere else. So I'm going to go ahead, fill this in, and I'll show you our next steps. All right, I filled my sticker sheet in pretty well. I could probably shove a few more in, but that's okay. Cricut Design Space really doesn't know how to fit a lot of stickers onto a sheet, and I will show you that. But the first thing I want to do is I'm going to save this so that I don't lose any of my designs that I worked on here. So I'm going to just save this as Cappy Stickers and click Save. Now, when we go to hit Make It, what we want to do first is we're going to make sure that we hide the template because we want to make sure that that isn't going to cause us issues. So hide that. Now, this is just me showing you what this looks like if I weren't to do the attach step to tell Cricut Design Space that it can fit a lot more onto the page. So if I hit make right now, you're going to see that it's going to give us 2 pages, and look at how much space it wastes because it's keeping things out of these bounding boxes. So it's not going to allow us to fit as much in. I hit cancel, and now I go over and I want to select everything, which again, you can choose select all, or you can just draw that big box. You want to click the attach option. You can also use flatten. Either one works basically the same way. Now, for me personally, I do like to use flatten as it takes away a lot of the layers on my layers panel, but also I find that Cricut Design Space tends to not have to think quite as hard if I use that option. Then what I want to do is save this again, just so I make sure that I've saved what I've attached, because if you don't, you're going to have to move them all around and it's just a mess. So make sure that you saved your last thing before you go in to click the make button. Now from the make button, now you'll see that I only have one mat. I can fit way more on there and it's just going to fit so much better. From here, what we're going to do is we're going to get ready to print these. Now you're going to be printing these to your home printer. You can use an inkjet printer, works great. That's all you really need. And I'll link my favorite printer down below. You're going to click continue. And for this one, you'll see that this tells me that they have improved accuracy. A one-time calibration is recommended for best results. I'll link down below how to calibrate your Cricut. I did just calibrate mine, and mine, it'll tell you this a lot, even if you did just calibrate, because they don't really know that you just did that. So for now, I'm just going to tell it not now, even though you can definitely do one. Now from here, what you'll see is you're going to see the size paper that it wants you to print on, and it's going to tell you to send this to the printer. It is actually not going to send this to your printer right now. Go ahead and click on that, and it's going to give you a couple pages. The first one is that it's going to kind of show you what your page should look like when you print. Now, I've seen a lot of people have issues when they print and they say, well, it didn't print my registration marks, or my registration marks are cut off. A lot of times it's because your printer isn't pulling your paper in properly. And if you don't have a gravity feed printer, which means like a printer with a feeder in the back, you may run into that issue. And I see that issue most with the HP printers. They don't really like thicker materials, any thicker than like a light cardstock. So that could be an issue for you. But most of the time, what you're going to want to see is these 4 registration marks and your stickers. I'll show you some settings in your printer too that you'll want to check in case you're having any issues. Now, what I'm going to do is click the next button. And this is where we're going to do some settings to make sure that we're going to get the best quality prints that we possibly can. From here, you're going to make sure to check a couple things. Again, I always check that paper size to make sure it's the right size that I am using. I am then also going to make sure that I'm using the right printer. So for me, I use an Epson EcoTank. I have the 2720, which they don't make anymore, but I'll link below the one that's like the next compatible version. And I've been using it for years. I've never changed the ink, and I've literally had this printer since 2021. And I use it all the time. The ink lasts forever. Now, there's a couple other things. You'll see here that you have copies, which you can make multiples if you want to. I never do. But here is where we want to talk about this add bleed button. So what this does is it's going to take any color, so around our big cappy, and it's going to push that color out just a little bit. That way, if our Cricut cuts a little bit off center, it won't show any white around them. Now that's only going to matter if you have color on the edges of your sticker. If you've got white offsets on your sticker, you don't need to leave bleed on, but you can because it won't make a difference. There's no such thing as white ink with an inkjet printer, so you don't need to worry about it at all. Now, the next thing you want to do is make sure that you're selecting the Use System dialog button. This button is super important to make sure that you're getting your best prints possible. The default print settings from Cricut are terrible and never give you a good quality result. Now, you're going to click the print button. It's not going to start printing yet because it's going to open up our printer dialog box. Now, if for some reason yours doesn't pop up like mine just did, you want to check behind the program. So you may want to pull up your taskbar and close everything and see, not close, but minimize everything and see if it opened there, because sometimes it does. But once you found your printer dialog right here, again, you're going to make sure you have your correct printer selected, and you're going to go to Preferences. Now, under Preferences, we're going to do just a few settings to make sure that we're going to get these really good prints that we want. Again, I always check my document size and I check my orientation, and it should be set to portrait. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to change my paper type. I want to change it from plain paper, bright white paper. Now, depending on what you're using, it can change the setting of which you need to choose. I tend to find that my presentation paper matte really does the best as far as most of my sticker paper. However, when I use a super glossy paper, I do find the premium photo paper glossy is a great selection. So I would recommend doing a couple test prints with just like 1 or 2 stickers just to see what setting is going to give you the best setting. You can also try this premium presentation paper matte. Now I find that sometimes it puts a little too much ink out, and so it can kind of make them look a little bit blobby, but on the paper that I'm using today, which I will link below, it works really well. Now, the next thing you want to do is go to quality, and you want to change it from standard to high. You always want to check your color settings to make sure that it is set to color. Mine is set to default on black grayscale in case I'm printing something like a crochet pattern or a recipe. I never want to waste color ink on those. The next thing that I always want to do is go under the more options setting here. There's one setting you need to change, and that's this high speed setting. Now yours might also say bi-directional. They're the same thing, but it just kind of depends on which printer you have. Now you can ignore this if this pops up. It's just because we're taking a while to get to printing. So it's giving us a print and cut error just because it's like, why haven't you printed? Your printer didn't print. It's because I'm taking a while to go over this with you. And I want to make sure that you know exactly how to make sure you get the best prints. So don't worry if that pops up while you're working. It's just because it's like, hey, girl, I'm still here. But don't worry, it's totally normal. So again, you want to make sure that you turn off this high-speed print. You can just simply click on that and to change it. Now, I will also say, because I do have some default settings, yours probably will not be a problem. But up here where it's color correction, make sure it's set to automatic. I use custom when I do sublimation, which is why it's kind of already like defaulted to that, but just make sure that that is set to automatic. Now, I bet you're thinking, well, what if I don't have all those settings? Because some of you might not. That's because you did not install your printer drivers correctly. So what you'll need to do is go to your printer driver settings, and you'll want to make sure that you install those. So for example, here on the Epson website, if I just search for my printer, so I have the ET2720, oops, helps if I choose that, and you can see that it brings up some information here, but then I just want to search for the word drivers. If I search for that, you're going to see that you'll come up with obviously the printers themselves, but if you go under support, you can find all of the driver utilities in uninstaller and the installer information. So you may need to scroll your site a little bit, but you can easily find your new drivers, and you want to make sure that you install those correctly. You can also just go under the support option here, and you'll see that they do have some things that you can use here to find, you know, what you need. So you can go to your printers, you can look up your printer name. So I have ET2720, oops, gosh, I cannot type. And if I click on that, then you'll see again here, look at all this. I've got all these things that I can get, including like your operating system information. So if I make sure like I choose Windows 11, it's going to go ahead and download all the information that it needs. So if your printer isn't giving you the stuff that you need or you want, make sure you install your drivers. Now I do want to show you some printer settings as well. So let me pop those up. So for example, here on the Epson website, if I just search for my printer, so I have the ET2720, oops, helps if I choose that, and you can see that it brings up some information here, but then I just want to search for the word drivers. If I search for that, you're going to see that you'll come up with obviously the printers themselves, but if you go under support, you can find all of the driver utilities in uninstaller and the installer information. So you may need to scroll your site a little bit, but you can easily find your new drivers, and you want to make sure that you install those correctly. You can also just go under the support option here, and you'll see that they do have some things that you can use here to find, you know, what you need. So you can go to your printers, you can look up your printer name. So I have ET2720, oops, gosh, I cannot type. And if I click on that, then you'll see again here, look at all this. I've got all these things that I can get, including like your operating system information. So if I make sure like I choose Windows 11, it's going to go ahead and download all the information that it needs. So if your printer isn't giving you the stuff that you need or you want, make sure you install your drivers. Now I do want to show you some printer settings as well, so let me pop those up. You're going to open up your control panel and you want to go to devices and printers, which is under hardware and sound. I want to select the correct printer that I'm using. So in order to do that, I'm going to go to printers and scanners, and then I want to select my ET2720. Now, what you'll see, you've got a bunch of different options. You've got like test pages, printer preferences, properties, all of that stuff. I want you to go under printer preferences really quick and see where this is all set. See my defaults. If for some reason yours is printing too small, yours is printing, the wrong landscape, whatever it may be, you may need to go into these settings to change them so that they're defaulted to the correct thing. So you can find a lot of stuff here that's going to help you just in case you're having any kind of issues. You can also print a test page from here in case you're having some problems with your printer as well. It'll help you kind of diagnose whether it's Cricut or your printer. Now, once you've chosen all these settings, go ahead and click OK, and then you can simply click Print to send it to your printer. Before we get started with our printing, I did want to show you the bleed. So you can see on this capybara, this big one, that brown color that would be the outline is a little bit thicker than it showed on the screen because that pushed the color out a little bit more so that if it cuts off center a little bit, you won't have like a white border, but we did put that white offset around the rest. Now I do also want to talk to you about something called laminate. Laminate is a way that you can help your stickers last a little bit longer. Keeping in mind, I'm using the Cricut printable sticker paper, which is this one right here. This was just what I kind of had on hand. But with this sticker paper, this is not gonna be waterproof. This is more of like, you want to put it on like something that isn't going to get wet like it shows here with notebooks and stuff. But adding a laminate can help your stickers last longer. It keeps your hands off of the ink and things like that. Now I'm not going to put laminate on these ones today, but I'll link some videos down below where I do put laminate on. This is a holographic laminate, but you can get clear as well. So there are lots of options, and I am going to be coming out with a video that's going to talk to you about the different laminate options and showing you some examples. But this is our design. Now I also want to point out to you this corner up here. This is your upper left-hand corner, which has that little tiny arrow in it, and that's just telling you how to load this on to your mat. Now, when you're using a paper product like sticker paper, cardstock, you want to use a light grip mat. That is the blue mat here. Now, when I load my mat, I always just kind of figure out which corner is stickier, and this one definitely is stickier. So I'm going to use this mat, and what you want to do is you're going to line up your sticker paper or your cardstock, whatever you've printed on, and you're going to get this as straight as you can. If it's not perfect, that's okay. The Cricut will figure it out, but you want to get this as straight as you can, and then you want to make sure that it's well held down. And now we can load it into our machine. So let me pull the machine in, and I've got you zoomed in a little bit because I want you to be able to see a little closer like what we're doing. So I'm going to scoot her over just a smidge. Now, you're going to be using your fine point blade for this. I'm cutting this on the medium cardstock setting, but I'll link below a video that talks about how to do a kiss cut. But for these, I prefer to have individual stickers. I use these in mystery bags for my crochet business, so I want individual stickers. But if you want to make things like sticker sheets or you just want a kiss cut sticker, I will link below a video about that. Now, when you load this, it's really important that you get your mat under the tabs. All the machines are going to have these little white tabs, and you want to make sure your mat's under that. Then you give a little pressure when you hit the load button, which is this flashing little arrow. Now, I'm going to zoom you out a little bit more so I can show you the next button you're going to push. Once you've connected to your computer, if you're using Bluetooth, your power button will turn blue, and then your little Cricut logo here will start flashing. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that button. What the machine's going to do now is it will turn on a light that is in the middle of your carriage, your carrier little thing, and that is going to read your registration marks. And it always starts with this top corner one, and then it'll go over to this one, and then it'll do the bottom. Now, I will say I can see that my mat isn't super sticky, so I'm going to keep an eye on this just to make sure that this doesn't come off. But it's going to read all of your registration marks. Now, in general, your Cricut should have no problem reading your marks. I know some people do have some issues. I personally have never, but if you have some issues, some things you can try is taking your cell phone and using the flashlight and turning that on, and then shine that on your machine just like I'm doing here, and that actually can help it read your lines a lot better. You can also try taking away light, but I do find adding light is the better option. Also, if your design is super glossy, that may be causing a lot of the issue, which adding some more light to it really can help. Now, like I said, this corner on mine is popping up quite a bit, so I'm gonna actually, while it's cutting, because I don't like that it's popping up, I'm gonna go ahead and tape it down. It doesn't need the registration lines anymore, so if I have a little tape over that line, I'm not concerned. I just don't want it to catch while it's cutting the capybaras. So what now it's doing is it's cutting out all of your stickers. You'll notice that it's gonna be cutting around the outline that we created. Now I'm gonna go ahead, let this cut. This should only take a moment or two, and then I'll show you what it looks like when it's all done. Now that our stickers are done cutting, it pushes it back out of the machine. Now I do want to check that cut. Remember I said that these machines, you can recut things. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this painter's tape and move it out of my way. Just that was to hold the corner down. Normally you won't need to do that. And then I'm going to go ahead and just peel this up and just see how it cut. And it looks like it cut these really, really well, because you can see the stickers are staying on and this background piece is coming off, and I should be able to just pull that off, no problem. I'm going to go ahead and unload these by hitting the unload button, and then we're going to close our machine, and then I'll show you a really easy way to take your stickers off of your mat. So rather than pulling them off your mat from this direction or like using a scraper or something, what I want you to do is you're going to take your mat and you're going to flip it over, and then you're going to pull your stickers off like this. And you'll see they're kind of popping off a little bit. You can see this one. You can just pull them off, and that way they don't bend or get all wrinkled or anything like that. So this is a really easy way. Now you don't want to bend your mat too far because you can crack it. You just want to bend it just enough that your stickers will start to release from your mat. Now I'm going to show you something that I did as an oopsie, and I'm going to just be honest with you. I put the capybara too close to this sticker, so now they're kind of stuck together. I can pull them apart, but it is just a little too close, and the bleed kind of went over onto this sticker. But that is fully okay. Same with this one. They were just a little too close. I'm not really worried about that. Just make sure when you put these together, they're not overlapping. The bleed will cause your stickers to be a little bit wider, so when you do put them on your mat, you'll just want to kind of be a little more careful. But it looks like everything cut really, really well. I'm trying to look for one of the bigger rainbows. And this one, I think, cut really beautifully. Now, I will say I could probably go for a calibration soon, just because I do notice that this one is just a little thicker on one side than the other with the white. But in general, these look pretty good. Now, I'll link below the calibration page so that you guys can see how I calibrate my machine. It's super easy to do, and it's definitely something you want to do, especially before you do your first set of stickers. You want to make sure that you have calibrated your machine. So that's one of the things that I recommend you do when you buy a Cricut. But in general, these came out pretty darn good. Now, again, I think they look pretty nice. I don't see any big glaring issues with them, and I do think that they look pretty stinking cute. This capybara is huge, and I love him. I think he's so cute. The little one in the box. And I'll link these designs down below if you want to use these. I just think they're absolutely so darn precious. Now, what's fun about these is you can really use these in lots of ways. Scrapbooks or notebooks, decorations for things, so lots of ways to use them. Now, if you have any questions about this or anything else that we do here on this channel, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm always happy to answer those for you. Be sure that you're subscribed here on YouTube. That way you don't miss out on any of the fun, crafty content we have coming. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, happy crafting.